welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight we start with good news, a spot check on unga prices, and it's a positive story. Also in business, today for your story on tourism, we take you all the way to Naivasha and its spots. Tibet has all the details for you. That and more coming up shortly after the highlights. Relief at last. Low unga prices take effect across supermarkets. Seeking presidency, Ruben Kigame to know his fate on Monday. Not just yet. Education CS dismisses 60% pay demand by teachers. Welcome back. Now, we would like to hear from you. Remember, you can send us your comments on our social media pages, that is Instagram and also on Twitter. Did you know that now you can buy maize on a subsidized price of at 100 shillings for a 2 kg packet? We have those details for you.
Following President Uhuru Kenyatta's announcement lowering the retail price of maize flour as part of government's interventions to reduce the cost of living, Kenyans thronged retail outlets to take advantage of the reduced prices.
Jana tutoa na president directive kwamba huu unga itaremuka to 100 Kenya shillings. Tunaona zingine like Jogo is 208. Hostels unga iko 238, which were surprised.
They leveraged on social media to trace retail outlets that had subsidized flour. And when successful, the number of packets that a customer was allowed to buy was capped.
Ningeomba kwamba wa just na ile price rais alisema jana, so that iko effective, like kama ni 100 throughout the country, iwe tu one price throughout the country.
Tasema ni shukran kwa sababu tulikuwa tumeumia juu unga ilikuwa juu sana.
Despite the directive that maize flour would be subsidized across the country, there were some retailers that had not reduced the prices, with a 2 kilo packet of maize flour retailing at more than 200 shillings.
Kwa mfano saa hii natoka Naivas hapa Mwembe, hapa Posta, nimenunua unga ya sima ambayo imeshuka kutoka kwa bei ya 230 mpaka 198.
Kwa hivyo kama ni kuangusha unga, ni waangushe unga na ianguke hata baada ya uchaguzi.
Outlets affiliated to the Retailers Trade Association of Kenya said even though they had reduced prices, they had started talks with the government to recover 175 million shillings spent on buying 750 tons of flour before the subsidy was announced yesterday.
Still there are negotiations going on because this was a government directive that the prices were to go down. So still the government with the millers, they are going with the negotiations. We have also engaged our headquarters, the purchasing department.
Bado stock yao iko pale pale tu. Hawataangusha kwa vile ati president amesema na pesa zao waliweka pale siungwe.
Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Now to scales of justice, where the Court of Appeal has temporarily stayed at High Court order allowing presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame to present his credentials before the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for review and approval. This follows an appeal filed by the electoral body citing 3 grounds on which it cannot implement the directive, key among them being time restriction. This and more from the courts.
Presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame, who was supposed to present his credential to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on Thursday, suffered yet another setback. This is after the Court of Appeal temporarily stopped the implementation of a High Court order that had given the independent presidential aspirant relief in his quest for the country's top seat. Kigame's lawyer John Haminwa told the court to wait for his client to present his papers and that he had not even received the appeal documents. However, IEBC's lawyer Eric Gumbo opposed the submission, saying it was a tactic to delay the case, saying they had been served the appeal to all parties. The matter will be heard on Monday and determined by a 3-judge bench, namely Justice Wanjiru Karanja, Francis Tuyot and Helen Omonde. Meanwhile, a middle-aged man has been sentenced to 45 years imprisonment after pleading guilty to defiling a 2-year-old girl. In his mitigation, 39-year-old Erastus Kariuki blamed the devil for pushing him to commit the crime on July the 3rd, 2022. The prosecution said Erastus had reportedly contributed 100 shillings in a fundraiser at a church in Zimmerman, Nairobi County, before proceeding to commit the heinous act within the precincts of the church. And the murder probe of university student Sharon Otieno involving Migori Governor Okoth Obado and his aides Michael Oyamo and Caspar Lobiero continued on Thursday morning as 2 police officers took to the stand to testify about the events that happened the day after the late Sharon is believed to have been murdered. The 2 police officers, who are the 23rd and 24th witnesses, recounted to the court how the Governor Obado's personal assistant Michael Oyamo arrived at the Uriri base station, saying how they were picked with the late Sharon in a probe box from Gracia Hotel, but was later moved to a different vehicle only to find himself hours later in Kisii County. The trial continues. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has dismissed pleas from teachers who are demanding an immediate 60% salary increment, arguing that the government coffers presently cannot afford to offset their demands. Speaking in Mombasa, where he inspected the construction of CBC classrooms in Changamwe constituency, Magoha termed the demands as unreasonable, calling on teachers to redirect their efforts in ensuring a streamlined education system.
Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha was in Kilifi and Mombasa counties to inspect the progress of the construction of the competence-based curriculum classrooms. In Kilifi, 35 out of 37 classrooms are currently under construction, while in Mombasa County, 55 classrooms are under construction. Magoha has once again denied claims that his ministry cannot account for monies allocated.
The government gave us 1.9 billion shillings for 500,000 desks. You all know because we put it in the paper. We constructed 625,000 desks. Even an idiot who didn't go to school will know that we got value for money. And we got that value for money because we went to inspect and ensure that the desks were, first of all, made. If we negotiated for the price of the desk from 5,000 plus to 3,500, and we ensured that the desks were delivered. You see, in this country, what you must remember is that if you are doing the right thing, then you shall remain the target. But the point is, we are not afraid to be targets. We have re-engineered NEMIS, and we should be launching it before I leave. And that NEMIS will be so much better. You can play your politics, but please, in the name of God, let us work. We have work to do, and we have just a few weeks to go.
On teachers' demands for a 60% pay increment, Magoha termed their pleas as unreasonable and attainable.
There is no way government can give teachers 60%. But you see now, I'm talking as a spectator. That question should be directed to Dr. Nancy Macharia. Teachers are, of course, entitled to increment of salaries. But in the whole of this continent, there's no government that is spending more money in education than ours. So perhaps what we should be doing is to ensure that we have value for money.
He further reaffirmed the government's preparedness for the 2023 education calendar.
We shall normalize in January. Once that normalization is done, we shall then train the teachers for grade 7 in the school-based programs. Are we together? So there's actually no crisis.
School heads have further been warned against turning away pupils with school fees arrears. Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Well, let's take a break, but when we come back, some politics for you.
The World Athletics Championships in Oregon is already underway.
And those are all the sports stories we had for you tonight. But right after this bulletin, we will be airing live the CAF Awards 2022, which, as you can see, it's currently going on. Some of the stars have already arrived for the prestigious African Award, and so many categories are up for grabs. Tomorrow I'll definitely bring you that news in detail. But after this bulletin, enjoy the CAF Awards. My name is Karen Kibet. Have yourself a peaceful night. I now hand you back to Cynthia Nyamai for more.
Thank you, Karen Kibet. Now, from me and the rest of the team, we want to say thank you. We wish you a good night. And after the break, we have the CAF Awards for you.
Kenyan youth have been radicalized